And at the outset, Dr. Raju Bashak, Ashok Kumar Pal, Professor, and Mr. Chakraborty from the center, our West Bengal State Center, and most importantly, Mr. Palash Das, the Regional Director, India at Optibus, and all fellows, members, and participants present today. At the outset, I, on behalf of Electrical Engineering Division of the Institute of Engineers, India, West Bengal State Center, welcome you all in this webinar on electric vehicles ecosystem in India, technology and business case. This is the theme of today's discussion topic. Needless to say, how much important is the topic in today's rapidly changing power sector environment, where tremendous importance is given to renewable energy, in which electric vehicles play a very important role. Incidentally, today we have with us a person who has a panoramic national level experience on this subject, Mr. Palash Das, Regional Director, India at Optibus, who before joining this organization served for quite a long time in EESL, the nodal agency of e-vehicles of our country. The electric vehicle landscape is rapidly changing as both technology and interest evolve, and the coming year will see many more electric vehicles take to the roads, seas, and skies. To know in more specific, we have the opportunity to listen to Mr. Das today and subsequently interact with him. I would request all participants to make full use of this opportunity and make the program a grand success. Thanking you all. Dr. Paul, please.
Yeah. So now, okay, Steve, let me, myself, Ashok Kumar Pal from Techno India University. I'll introduce Mr. Palash Das. Mr. Palash Das is presently working at Optibus as Regional Director India. Optibus is an Israel-based technology company that is providing solutions to optimize public transport operation. They are pioneer in providing solutions for increasing efficiency of running buses, both electric and IC engine-based buses. Mr. Das is closely associated with various state transport utilities and bus manufacturers to establish a more efficient system of public transport. In his previous role, he was head of e-mobility at Convergence Energy Services Limited, a wholly owned subsidiary of Energy Efficient Service Limited. He has been active in the transport sector for over 10 years and has been a frequent contributor to India's electric mobility and energy efficiency program. His experiences includes rollout of one of the largest government procurement of electric buses for 5 metro cities through Grand Challenge. His current assignment includes rolling out 50,000 electric buses. He has played a key role in developing electric vehicle charging infrastructure in the capital and represents Convergence Energy Service Limited, CESL, in various central and state government committee on conceptualizing the policies and standard for electric vehicles. So with this introduction, okay, I request Mr. Palash Das to deliver his presentation.
Thank you, Professor Paul, and thank you, Dr. Mukhopadhyay. Let me just confirm I'm able to. You are able to hear me clearly, right, sir?
Yes.
I'm audible enough. Okay, thank you. So, thank you for inviting me. It's truly an honor to be, part of such an esteemed, platform, and it's always enthusiastic to interact with EV enthusiasts. It's always interesting to be interacting with EV enthusiasts. And the topic that I've chosen today is talking about the entire EV ecosystem. What are the technologies? What are the various vehicle segments which are involved? And I would also like to touch upon the policy and the regulatory landscape that is being framed for India. So let me quickly pull up my presentation. Dr. Paul, just let me know when you can see this.
Yes. Start your presentation, then I'll tell. Yeah, it is visible now.
It's visible? Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you. Let me put it on the full screen mode. It's fine now, sir?
Yes, it is fine.
Okay. Thank you.
Perfectly fine, sir.
So great, sir. Great. So talking about the automobile industry, India is the fourth largest auto manufacturing country in the world. We have close to 30 crore registered vehicles in flying on Indian roads, and almost 3 crore vehicles are being added on a yearly basis, which is growing at a pace of 7 to 8% year on year. So it itself is a huge industry, right? Around 7.5% of the GDP is being comprised through this sector alone, and almost 50% of the GDP of the entire manufacturing sector is being represented by automotive sector. So we are talking a drastic change from in terms of the fuel that is being used by this particular sector. So if I talk about last year's performance, somewhere around 2.6 crore vehicles were sold, and now since we are talking about electric vehicles, the percentage of electric vehicle is minuscule. It's almost negligible. It's almost 2% of the sales that had happened last year was for electric vehicle, taking in consideration of all the segments: 2-wheeler, 3-wheeler, buses, 4-wheelers, everything. So so we would like to understand that since it's only a minuscule part of the entire industry, why it is being talked about, why it is being so important, why it is so relevant, for India, to focus majorly on electric vehicle. Mind you that this percentage is increasing, almost, I would say, day by day, and we have seeing significant growth in terms of the electric vehicle adoption, as well as the infrastructure that is being created all around it. So my presentation will be focusing on what exactly the ecosystem is, which are the main stakeholders which are associated with this particular industry, why it is important, how the various segments of the vehicles which is being represented in electric vehicle is being performing. And ultimately, I would like to touch upon the business models and the business cases that are being developed all around, with each electric vehicle, segment, and how CESL, or the Government of India company, is performing, and what kind of solution that they are providing, and which are the organization which is helping create the infrastructure for electric vehicle and the ecosystem around. So let me quickly start the presentation. So there are many things that are associated with an electric vehicle which is not making it very popular initially for a general public to adopt it, right? So be it the range issues, be it non-availability of charging infrastructure around it, be it the high cost of the vehicle. These are some factors which are prohibiting the normal consumer to adopt an electric vehicle. So essentially, there has to be a government push around this technology. There has to be certain policies, there has to be certain incentives initially that has to be given by the government, so that it can be made popular and the adoption can happen on a gradually increasing mode. So globally, we can see that there has been a cost of the decrease in the cost of the lithium batteries, which is almost the 50% of the vehicle prices due to the batteries. So a lot of the cost and the manufacturing is dependent on the battery. So and since that there is literally no production of batteries or exploration of batteries happening in India. So we are dependent on exports on batteries. But we have seen that there is a decreasing trend over the past few years in the entire decade, that the prices of the batteries are coming down. And also there is a strong push on the policy front as well, because of the the advantage of the electric vehicle towards the climate and the carbon related the policies and the targets that India has. So the policies that are being designed, since I was in the government for the past 8 years, and I had the opportunity to look at this sector very closely, and since it's a niche market, and whatever has happened in the past 5-6 years, I was witness to that development, sitting right in the government. So we have seen that how the government is working towards incentivizing the demand, how the upfront cost can be reduced, although the operation, the total cost of ownership of an electric vehicle is fairly less than a comparative diesel vehicle, or maybe it's a CNG vehicle. But the initial the upfront cost is being reduced by various different methods, by giving in subsidies, by taking out the registration cost, by reducing the GST on the vehicles, giving incentives of like free parking. So all these things have been designed by the government as a policy push to incentivize the demand. Second is to create the supply. Till now, unfortunately, I would say, government is the biggest procurer of electric vehicle, be it like buses or maybe in four-wheelers specifically. They are trying to create the supply, and so that there is a fair visibility among the manufacturers to produce these vehicles indigenously. So incentives are being given on R&D, manufacturing, through various different schemes like performance intensive schemes, which is essentially reducing the cost of manufacturing, and that can be translated into reduced cost of the vehicle. The third important thing that the government is doing is a lot of focus is happening on the charging infrastructure front as well, right? So there are policies that are being rolled out, rules, regulations in terms of charging. I will talk in detail about what are the things that government has done, particularly in charging station. So government is leading the installation of charging station. It's a market creator. We ourselves as a government company is installing charging station all around, primarily right now in the urban sector. Also, financial incentives are being given both in manufacturing of charging station as well as installing charging station. So there are things that the government is doing to push this to give a policy push, so that there can be quick adoption of these vehicles among the general consumer. So I will also talk about who are the major stakeholders involved in the entire ecosystem, and what are their responsibilities, and what have they done in the past few years. So talking about the growth, as I said, the growth in comparison to an equivalent IC vehicle ecosystem, the growth has been, the percentage of existence is very low, but the growth has been steadily rising, with various different announcements, various different schemes that have been put forward. We can see that there has been a rise in the sale of this electric vehicle, and we have seen a tremendous growth in two-wheelers and three-wheelers market, right, which I'll show in my upcoming slides as well. There's another thing that each individual states are doing. They are coming up with their own EV policies, right? And the EV policy talks about a lot in terms of adoption, in terms of incentives, in terms of targets, and the expenditure that the government will be doing. So these things are helping the growth of the e-mobility in the country. So I'll specifically talk a little bit about the policy and regulatory scenario which is around the electric vehicle ecosystem right now, specifically in the government's central government sector, which are the main stakeholders, which are the main ministries which are involved in developing and rolling out the policies and regulatory framework for electric vehicles. So in this landscape, the most prominent ministry that is taking a lead is is Ministry of Heavy Industry and Public Enterprises. So precisely DHI, or right now it's called as MHI. They have initially come up with a FAME scheme, which is which is giving demand incentive to whosoever is buying an electric vehicle, right? So there have been two phases, FAME 1, FAME 2, and there has been an outlay of close to 1,000 crore in the first scheme, and around 10,000 crores in the second phase, which is being given as an upfront incentive for whosoever is adopting an electric vehicle, right? So be it a two-wheeler, three-wheeler, so there are certain amount that has been allocated for each and every segment, so that anyone who is buying a two-wheeler, they can get a incentive from 10,000 to 15,000. Now it has increased to 30,000 as well. Similarly, in three-wheelers and four-wheelers also, there are demand incentive. So these incentive over a period of time, we have seen that it has increased the sales of this particular electric vehicles. So there has been very high targets that has been defined. The government and with the help of the general public is trying to match that target that has been defined. So for two-wheeler, it's the 1 million target. Four-wheeler 35,000. Three-wheelers, 500,000 target. Buses is around 7,000. And also 1,000 crore has been allocated for charging station itself. So the Department of Heavy Industry is playing a major role in terms of outlaying the demand incentive and disbursing this incentive to general public. Second is it's Ministry of Power who has taken a lead in terms of creating an infrastructure for charging stations in the country. So there have been various guidelines, various rules and regulations that has been given out by the ministry. First, it has been mandated by the government that putting up a charging station will not be a licensed activity. Okay, so earlier there was a discussion that whether a charging station business will be considered as a sale of electricity or not, because in electricity, it's the distribution company who has the right, who has the license to sell an electricity to a consumer. So that particular thing that was under the Electricity Act has been modified, changed, and the guideline in 2018 clearly said that anyone who has a business intent, who would like to have a charging station, maybe for their own use or maybe for business, they are free to put up a charging station, and they can sell electricity. Okay, so this was one big landmark guideline that was issued by the Ministry of Power, which allowed virtually anyone who has some space, who can have an electricity connection, who can put up the charging station and can start a business right away. The second thing is that there has been recommendations and targets assigned by Ministry of Power saying that in a grid of 3 by 3 kilometers, there has to be one charging station at least installed for the electric vehicles that are nearby that can use. And on the highways, one charging station has to be there in every 25 kilometers. So these are the kind of mandates, these are the kind of targets that the government have created, and related policies and regulations has been laid out around it. One of the ministry that has done fantastic job in terms of giving soaps and giving incentives to a general public, and which has motivated a lot to a public to adopt electric vehicle, is the Ministry of Finance. In the Union Budget 2019, the GST was cut down from 12 to 5%, which has created a big impact on the reduction of the prices of the vehicle, right? So till now, the normal vehicles are being charged at the highest level, 28%, right? But for electric vehicles, it's the 5% GST that has been given. So this has brought down the cost drastically. Apart from that, 1.5 lakh as an interest waiver on the interest paid to the on the loans that has been used to buy an electric vehicle, that has also come up. There are really fund allocation has been given for schemes like production link incentive for manufacturing, for having manufacturing of electric vehicles, as well as manufacturing of battery. batteries in India. So these are the things that the ministry has come up on regular intervals that has helped the industry altogether. And then there are other ministries which are doing important role in making these vehicles popular. Ministry of Road and Transport, a green license plate has been allocated for electric vehicle. This looks quite good that a vehicle with a green number plate. Right now, anyone can identify an electric vehicle by looking at the license plate, which is of green color. Then Niti Aayog played a very important role, specifically on the e-bus segment, which I'll discuss in detail in my coming slides, that how the electric buses can be introduced into state transport utility, right? So right now, India has close to 1.8 lakh buses on road, out of which around 50,000 buses are being operated by state transport utilities. So that's a huge demand. That's a huge market where, really, impact can be made by just replacing the existing polluting diesel buses and replacing it with an electric bus. So how it is being done, how how the business model has been developed around it, I will talk in detail that as well. And the other organization like ISRO has developed their own lithium-ion battery technology, which they have transferred it to various private players, which are developing on commercial basis. So this is one step that has been taken, and government has created an outlay of 45,000 crore rupees specifically as production linked incentive for electric vehicles, where manufacturers will be given incentive on making the buses, making the vehicles, as well as making the advanced cell battery storage in India. So these are the things that the government has taken forward and created quite a good impact, which is showing fruits now. So this is the state. This is the central government, the various ministries which are involved in framing the regulation. But there are states also which are taking a pole position in terms of developing policies, in terms of having targets based on whatever the manufacturing capacity they can have. So various different states have also come in, and they have realized that electric vehicle is something very important that they have to consider. So this is a list of all the states who has come up with electric vehicle policies and what kind of targets that they have, what kind of incentives that they are giving. And you can see that there is a clear push in terms of increasing the demand by giving demand incentive, increasing the manufacturing capacity and creating enough supplies for that kind of demand. The third is on, there are many states who are also focusing on R&D. So a budget has been allocated, funds has been allocated for specific R&D, exercises as well. Also, they do understand that if they have a manufacturing capability within the state, that will also generate enough, employment as well. So the promotion is all from the angle of generating employment, generation of enough capacity in the state as well. So these are the states who has come up, and they are doing fairly well, and many of the states are accepting that this is very important to do. And few of the policies which have been talked a lot about, specifically for Delhi, which is showing a good penetration of electric vehicles, specifically in two-wheelers and three-wheelers. So these are the landmarks. These are the states which are also pitching in their fair bit as well. So the targets that I've told, the states have shown aggressive targets in terms of adoption as well as investment. So, and the kind of benefits that they will accrue. So this state, I've tabulated the targets and the various scopes that has been given by the states in their policies. Okay, so states do also realize that they also have to create infrastructure related to electric vehicle as well. And if I'm talking about infrastructure, it's the public charging station that has to be installed. So since the total cost of ownership is less, a major component of the cost is due to the charging. So there has to be concessional tariff that has to be extended to electric vehicle charging stations as well. So you can see that there are various states which have created a special tariff band in their tariff order, so that people can use the benefit that has been given on the reduced electricity charges for charging the vehicles. So we can see that there are states which are giving less than 4 rupees. In fact, I missed to include that Delhi has come up with a special tariff of rupees 2 per kilowatt. That's the lowest, I would say, in the entire world, that any utility is supplying electricity at that cheap rate for an electric vehicle user. So now we'll go segment by segment, right? So what exactly is happening in two-wheelers, three-wheelers, buses, four-wheelers, how the entire ecosystem is developing, how the people are looking at these kind of segments, and what would be the the growth trajectory. So an overview of electric two-wheelers. Of late, I would say in the last 18 months, we have seen tremendous growth in terms of adoption of two-wheelers, right? So, with the incentive that has been extended by the government, the major hurdle which an electric vehicle sees is the initial acquisition cost, the high cost of the vehicle, which has come down drastically when I talk about two-wheelers. So there are two-wheelers which are, the cost is lower than an equivalent petrol two-wheeler. So that has helped the market to adopt these two-wheelers. Specifically in urban areas, we can see that there are many two-wheelers which are flying around, and the good thing is that there are many OEMs who are coming forward to give various different kinds of models, right? There are low-speed scooters, there are medium-speed scooters, there are high-end scooters, people are coming with motorcycles, so and the OEMs have understood that every OEM which is a conventional IC vehicle manufacturer, be it Hero, be it TVS, or be it Bajaj, everybody has understood that they have to include an electric vehicle in their portfolio going forward, because they have understood that this is the future. So that has helped in the greater adoption, because right now the consumer has a lot of options, both in terms of pricing as well as in terms of their requirement, right? So that has really helped this market to pick up in the past, I would say, 18 months. So we are seeing growth in two-digit number, and with continuing effort from the government, this shall pick up more. So I have given few data what kind of trend it has been for the past 2-3 years for electric two-wheelers. So high-speed two-wheelers is gaining pace, right? So this is the numbers that have been I have been able to gather in terms of adoption of high-speed two-wheelers. High-speed two-wheelers is any two-wheeler which has capability of having a speed of 25 km per hour and more, right? So that consists as a high-speed two-wheeler, and we have seen that there is a good adoption and penetration in this particular segment. So if we talk about the TCO, total cost of ownership, and the market break-even point, so two-wheeler is one of the most attractive product that an electric three-wheeler market can give, right? So including the incentive that has been given, there are central incentive, there are state incentive over and above the central incentive that is reducing the price drastically, that it's a straight given choice of a consumer to adopt an electric two-wheeler. Although there are few issues around it, like charging, but electric two-wheeler doesn't need a huge infrastructure to charge this vehicle. It can be charged at a small garage. It can be charged at any 5 ampere plug, and there are models where the battery can be pulled out and can be charged separately. So all this facility, all this convenience is helping the market to grow substantially. So apart from two-wheelers, there is another segment which is quickly taking is looking at a good growth trajectory is the electric three-wheeler market. And electric in the three-wheeler market, specifically the cargo one, we are seeing that there is a growth of almost 40% happening on a year-to-year basis. That's astonishing. So a similar approach from by the government has been given on the three-wheelers as well. So there is demand incentive which is being given to anyone who is purchasing an electric three-wheeler. Although there are issues around it, I won't shy away with those facts. But if you are adopting an electric vehicle, there has to be certain behavioral change that you have to adopt. If I'm referring to a normal consumer, the way you look at your phone, and you see what amount of charge it has. You plan accordingly. If you're coming out of your home, you make sure that the phone is charged. A similar behavior is also being adopted on the electric vehicle as well. To my experience, I have been associated with this particular market for the last 6 to 7 years, and we started with electric four-wheelers where the vehicles are being given to government departments. So initially in 2016, when the government mandated us that we have to develop a national program around electric vehicles, we did not had an idea what exactly the electric vehicle is, right? And at that point of time, there was only one electric four-wheeler model of Mahindra which was existing. So literally, we didn't had any vehicles present. The prices were sky high, in comparison to equivalent ICE vehicle. There were issues related to it, right? Like, limited range. It has to be given 6 to 8 hours to get it charged. So there has been limited practicability associated with this vehicle that can change an existing ICE vehicle, right? So what we did was we developed a program and we introduce these electric four-wheeler vehicles to the government departments, right? So we saw that we made a study and we found out that there are 5 lakh vehicles flying in government departments, state government and central government put together in the country, at least 5 lakh vehicles. So if we change around, at least 5% of that particular market, that particular demand we are talking about 10 to 15,000 vehicles on road, and that's a huge number. These vehicles which are into the government department, they have very limited usage, which generally being used within the city. They have a limited range. They are supposed to be parked at a certain place. They are generally not being used at the night time, most of the vehicles. So that gave us enough room for introducing this electric vehicle in the government departments, right? And that's exactly that we did. We floated the world's largest electric four-wheeler procurement, 10,000 vehicles, right? And out of nowhere, it was won by Tata Motors, which had, before the tender, did not had any vehicle in their portfolio. So that's how Tata Tigor came into existence, and that was supplied to CESL, and which was ultimately given to the government departments. So that's how we started, right? It was an experiment which clicked, and now with in the past 5-6 years, we have seen that there are various different models of electric vehicles that are coming into the market. So three-wheeler also made a similar impact. Most of the freight companies, most of the companies which are associated with e-commerce, they have realized that to reduce the operating cost, this is one segment that they can utilize. So the three-wheeler is being dominated right now by e-rickshaws. Almost 80% of the market share is of e-rickshaws. But the L5 vehicles, which is the autos, which has seen a growth of almost 40% in the past 2 years. So that's a remarkable, remarkable improvement in terms of sales that we have seen, and that's primarily due to, one, by private participation, realizing that this particular model, this particular product can be utilized by a certain segment of the industry, and also the kind of push that the government has given in terms of introducing incentives or the kind of procurement that the government has done. Last year, at the same time, government floated a tender for buying 1 lakh three-wheelers for various different use cases, be it electric autos, be it changing the garbage tipper as an electric vehicle, be it for cargo, be it for transportation of cylinders for the oil marketing companies, or be it vehicle that can be utilized for transport of vaccines and dairy products. So with various different use cases, government went ahead with the procurement of such a large scale, which has reduced the cost, and that has helped the market to grow further. Similarly, the growth has been tremendous. We can see that in past financial year, the growth has been 40%, which is very much appreciated by the entire industry, and the kind of uptake that this particular segment has taken, it has beaten all the other segments. So this is similar to what I have discussed in two-wheelers as well, that the total cost of ownership is also in comparison to an electric comparison to ICE vehicle is fairly low. Now I'll quickly move to the electric four-wheeler segment, where government has tried a lot of different use cases, and the business model that has been developed, including us, is being appreciated by the world, by the kind of procurement that we did. The business model that we have created has brought down the cost as well, and it has created a buzz in the market, and there are many players which are coming up with various different models. So you can have vehicle at the range of 15 lakh, you can have a range of 20-25 lakh, and that goes up to 60 lakh, 80 lakh as well. So the journey started, as I said, in 2016, where there was only one vehicle which was existing, and that was the price of the vehicle was almost twice an equivalent ICE vehicle. So there were not much taker. The sales were in just only 2 figures, and that are also not being bought by a general consumer, right? So the kind of efforts that government has taken has resulted into popularizing the vehicle segment among the new generation. So we have seen that the growth of Tata Nexon that has come into the market, the growth of Tata Tigor, and the likes of vehicles like Hyundai Kona and MG ZS. So this has helped in not only reducing the cost, also bringing in more and more auto manufacturer to come up with an electric version, right? So be it Mahindra, be it Tata, be it MG or Hyundai, they all are coming up with electric four-wheelers for various different segments, right? There are plans for having more and more model in the next 2 years, and we are seeing a lot of buzz in this particular segment. So the uptake has been not that much in comparison to two-wheelers and three-wheelers, but this particular market is also picking up, right? So we can see a greater uptake five years down the line, because the cost of the vehicle itself is a major concern. The second is the global global crisis of chips that is impacting this particular segment as well. So all these things are has hampered the sales of electric four-wheelers in Indian market. But essentially, the uptake has been good because of the kind of demand incentive that the government has given through FAME subsidy, through state subsidy, through state policies, and this has helped in picking up the sales, specifically in bigger cities, in urban cities. This is one very interesting segment that I would like to talk about, and government has done a fantastic job in terms of introducing electric buses in the public transport. So as I've said, there are around 1.5 lakh buses that are plying on Indian roads, and almost 50,000 is being managed by public transport, state public transports, majorly the STUs. And since it's a public service, there are states which have not increased the fare for say 5 year, 10 years. The cost of the fuel, diesel, is increasing day by day. So this has impacted the financial health of each STUs, and every STU is financially red. So a similar issue with the electric bus is that it's almost 2x often in comparison to a diesel bus or maybe a CNG bus. So the initial acquisition cost or the capital cost of these buses are very high, right? And it's almost impossible for a state transport utility to go ahead and buy these buses. So there are two things that was required. One, there has to be some central support, right? And the second, the business model of running a bus has to change. So these two things has helped the state transport utility to think about electric buses and going forward adopting it. I'll tell you how it has been done. So as I said, 10,000 crores was allocated under the FAME subsidy for electric vehicles. Out of that, almost 50% was allocated for buses, right? So the buses, the way of having these subsidies there were few things that has been laid out by the government that if you do this, then only the subsidy will be given to you, right? One is that they have to come up with a procurement for an OPEX model. So now, traditionally, what happens is a state transport utility buys the buses, they operate the buses, they collect the fare, and that's how they do the business. But government has realized that rather than having a capex model, it's essential to have an OPEX model where operators, where people who are interested in running the buses, they should run the bus, and the government should not have the burden of buying the buses, right? And they should use the vehicle as mobility as a service, right? So that they are using a service, and in lieu of that, they will be paying a certain money in terms of using that service. So an OPEX model was developed. And it was essential for any STU to adopt, to claim that FAME subsidy. They have to come up with an OPEX model, OPEX model procurement, and then only they can claim the subsidy. And so this happened for 3-4 years, right? And every individual STU was floating a tender for 10 bus, 20 bus, 50 bus, maximum 100 bus, and there was an fragmented demand coming out from these STUs, right? And these STUs were, since they were financially red, and they are responsible for paying the operators on a rupees per kilometer basis. So looking at the health of these STUs, the cost of these operations was quite high in comparison to it. Running a diesel bus, for example, running a diesel bus costs around 30 to 35 rupees per kilometer, and the cost for this electric bus was as high as 70, 80, 90 rupees. So although cities were trying to adopt this particular model, but due to fragmented demand, the kind of prices that they wanted was not being realized. So that's why the entire FAME scheme was remodeled for buses, and it was told that the entire pool of money which is available, which was close to 4,000 crore rupees, will be allocated to only 9 cities. Right. First, we will try the entire model to the 9 cities. If it's successful, then these 9 cities will become as a lighthouse cities for other cities to follow. So these 9 cities, Delhi, Kolkata, Hyderabad, Chennai, Bangalore, Pune, Mumbai, Surat, Ahmedabad, were selected. Essentially, a city which has a population of more than 4 million or 40 lakh is being selected, and an aggregated procurement was done, which was done by CESL. So the benefit that we got is that rather than having 20, 50, 100 vehicles, a consolidated demand of 5,500 buses was gathered, right? Which economies of scale is a big advantage in bringing down the cost. that's one. Second, since there is a central agency which is procuring, there was the contracts were much bankable, more secure, which help the operator to quote less. So this is something that has happened, which was called as a grand challenge, where the city participated, they provided their demand, and the central procurement was done. We'll see that how this particular business model in buses has helped in bringing down the cost. So the grand challenge success was due to the bankability of the demand. Second, the standardization of contracts and standardization of the technical specification of the buses was happened, right? So there were 4 or 5 segments of buses which were available: a 9 meter, 12 meter, an AC, non-AC, or a low floor, high floor buses. And there were certain assured things were given out in this particular tender, which has resulted into low prices. So these, I have tried to capture all the information that has been covered, that has been gathered through the outcome of the grand challenge, and we can see that the prices has come down drastically, to 30, 35, 39 rupees as well, right? So now with this, by the way, this price also include a 5 rupees of electricity, so the fuel cost is also included. So the cost of operating in diesel bus is close to 55 to 60 rupees, including the diesel prices. We can see that the cost of running an electric bus has come down below that, right? So this has sent out a message to all the state transport utility that running these buses, okay, on an operating model will be lower than you yourself running a diesel buses. So this was a game changer in the bus business, where the viability of running an electric bus was achieved, and this was a huge, it's a big milestone that the government has achieved by floating this 5,500 bus tender. And so this is how the entire game for electric buses has now changed. So going forward, none of the STO will be able to float a tender for procurement of diesel buses, because there is a precedence where electric buses has brought down cost at a lower point that running an electric bus is viable for them now. So this is, I've created a comparison. If you are running a diesel bus in few of the cities that now has adopted to electric vehicle, so this is the kind of this is the kind of reduction in the cost of operation will be there. We can see that 35 to 40% of the cost is being brought down if you are adopting an electric bus. So this is the business model that I've talked about for electric buses. Now, if I would like to show, give some, some importance on the kind of business model that have been developed for electric four-wheelers as well. So we do understood that the price of the electric four-wheelers was quite high. So a government, being a government, or maybe a general consumer, was not able to go ahead and buy this vehicle, even though there is a certain amount of subsidy that was there. So what CSL did was to do a mass procurement of this electric vehicle, so that with the economy of scale, the price of these vehicles can be brought down. That's one. Second, since I'm giving the industry a larger pool of demand, they can plan their production accordingly, and that certain planning can also bring down the cost. The third is there are multiple OEMs that came into existence by looking at a central government's procurement model. After procuring this vehicle, since although the prices were brought down, but the entire price was converted into a leasing model, right? So rather than buying a 14 lakh, 15 lakh of vehicle, now a government agency is giving a government department a vehicle at 40,000 per month per vehicle. It's being given on a lease basis, which is in comparison to whatever they are being hiring right now with a diesel car, right? So they are hiring a Swift Desire on 45,000. So here is a government agency through this mass procurement is giving electric four-wheeler less than whatever is being charged for a Swift Desire. So 40,000 rupees along with the charger, along with the cost of the charging, along with the driver is being given by a government agency. So this particular model has gone very well in the government, and right now we have given almost 2,000 vehicles to various different government departments, right from Prime Minister's office, various ministries in the government, and these vehicles are plying in Leh Ladakh, in Arunachal Pradesh, in Andaman Nicobar, in Lakshadweep. These vehicles have gone to places that we cannot think about before launching this program. So this is particular business model that we have created for the electric vehicle, which has been taken well by the government. So a lot has been talked about the vehicle segment, but it's also important to create an infrastructure around the electric vehicle. And although people say that it's a chicken and egg story, whether we should install a charging station or we should have more and more electric vehicle, but we have understood that it's very important to have charging stations, so that right now if you buy a petrol or diesel car, we are not bothered about the nearest petrol pump. It's everywhere. So that convenience should be achieved in electric vehicles as well. So it's very important to develop a program where the government can take a lead initially, right, to install more and more charging station in and around, develop it as a national program, and have public station in and around, so that people are not bothered when they are buying an electric vehicle. So although government has taken this responsibility, but of late we have seen that more and more private players are coming in, and they are developing themselves as a charge point operator, and they are installing this charging station, and they have seen that there is a business sense in terms of installing this charging station. So I'd like to talk a little bit about the kind of business model that has been created around the electric vehicle charging station. So the issue is quite same, right? If you talk about electric vehicle or electric vehicle charging station. So the cost of a charging station is quite high. So we need initial support from the government to reduce the cost of the charging station. Also, since PESL is gathering demand from various different sources, and they are placing big orders, that's why the initial cost is also being limited. Also, there are limited number of electric vehicles. If I am creating a charging station, putting up for business, if the charging station is not being utilized much, then my payback is not being achieved. So the lack of charging station is due to upfront cost, the low utilization, high operational cost. Since most of the electric vehicles are coming into urban areas, finding a land in this metropolitan city is quite high. So if you're purchasing the land or leasing the land, then the entire business case around financial case around installing a charging station becomes very, very costly, and that pushes the payback to 8 years, 10 years, and doesn't make a financial viability. So looking at all these issues related to the charging station, there are few things that the government have done, and which has now I can say that in few of the cities there is the density of the charging station has increased. So the business model is of course on a revenue sharing model, right? So as a government department, the first thing that we do is to find land in a particular city. Like if I give you an example of Delhi, so the municipal corporation are one of the biggest land owning entity in a city. So collaborating with a municipal corporation, identifying the land which are right now not being utilized, which makes sense for an electric vehicle user to develop it as a charging station, is being done. So there is a whole exercise of identifying land before the charging station is being planned. So it's a win-win situation for the EV users as well. right? So CSL takes the responsibility of procuring, installing, operations, and maintenance of the entire electric vehicle system. And we associate with a land partner, for example, a municipal corporation, maybe a state transport utility, or maybe a state electricity distribution company who has land in these particular cities, which can be utilized to develop develop as an EV charging station. So whatever revenue is being generated through the consumption of this electricity, a certain part of that revenue is being shared by the land partner, right? And that's how the agreement is being done, and through leasing out these land parcels, it makes economic sense for us to develop the charging station as well. Since we are a government agency, we have a benefit of getting hold to low-cost financing with various multilateral and bilateral banks, right? Like Asian Development Bank and World Bank, which are very much enthusiastic in terms of infusing funds into programs like this. So all this low-cost financing is also being used, which is the benefit is being given to the consumer. So by using this, an EV user is paying on a per unit basis. Whatever unit of consumption is that particular EV user is doing is being and they pay on a per unit basis. And CSL, with these benefits, the kind of tariff is being given by CSL is one of the lowest in the country. So that's how this business model makes sense, and that's how we are trying to create a business in the electric vehicle charging station, which is still now being seen as a loss-making body because there are no vehicles. The utilization is also low, so the payback is also quite high as 8 to 10 years. So this is the kind of approach that we do while finalizing an electric vehicle charging station, right? This can be utilized by anyone who is trying to build up a business case for charging station. The first thing is the assessment of the location. The land is a major portion in terms of investment, so it's very important to assessment of the land. The sites are being assessed, in terms of visibility, in terms of movability of the vehicle, in terms of availability of the electricity to that particular point. All these things are being assessed, and then going forward, and a particular area is being identified as an ideal space for installing a charging station. Similarly, then the implementation happens. CSL procures it installs, and the entire end-to-end maintenance is being done, and the cost is being recovered by the user, in terms of usage of this electric vehicle charging stations. So we have created an app where anyone can in a city can be navigated to the nearest charging station. You can book a charging station beforehand. You can allocate time slots where you would like to have vehicle get charged, and through this app, linking your payment wallets, you can make the payments as well. So all these charging stations are unmanned. You just have to have a smartphone, and you can access these charging stations, and you can utilize this charging station. So we have installed around more than 750 charging points. There are around 400 charging stations installed in various different cities, and that's how the entire charging business is being done by CSL. So if you talk about some pricing, or about if someone is particularly looking at a business case where someone would go ahead and install a charging station and would like to do a business on it, these are the things that comes into the pricing, right? So there are majorly three heads of pricing. One is, of course, the power utility cost, where as per the tariff you have to pay the electricity utility. Second is the capital cost, which comprises of the electric vehicle charging station, if there are civil works, earthing, various connections, if there has to be distribution transformer, if the land has to be leased, all this comes into the capital cost. The operational costs are the annual maintenance, the cost of the payment gateway, the cost of the the software that you have installed. So all these taken into consideration, the financials are being created, and that is being converted into a rupees per unit model, right? So the EV user is being charged on a rupees per unit model. So this is how we have done the business, the financial modeling for an electric vehicle charging station. The main concern into arriving the profitability of this charging station is the utilization factor, right? Utilization factor in terms of time, right? So we have seen this is a trend of close to 18 months, where we have seen that we thought that the charging station that we are installing will not be utilized. Initially, when we were developing the financial model, we took a utilization of 5%. 5% as in out of 24 hours, only 5% of the time this charging station will be utilized by an electric vehicle on which I will be generating certain revenue. But to our surprise, we have seen that it has, in the initial one, in 1 year, it has picked up from 4%, it has gone till 16 to 20%, right? And right now, there are charging stations which are giving a utilization factor of more than 30%. So this becomes a myth that this is a general concept that charging stations are not profitable. It's very important where the charging stations are located. It's very important with whom you are collaborating and partnering with. If the charging station is near to an airport, right, and there are many electric vehicles which are flying on airport routes, then it makes sense to have installed a charging station, and you can have a high utilization factor. So these are the business models that have been created around, and which is specifically helping the early adoption of electric vehicles in a city. These are a few numbers that we have installed. These are the cities where charging station has been installed, where there are various different kind of chargers that has been installed. These are specifically for the expressways and the highways that has been identified by the government, where there is a mandate that on every 25 kilometers there has to be a charging station, which will help the commuters especially for longer commutes. The charging station should be available. So various different strategic partnerships that CSL and government has done in terms of increasing the footprints of electric vehicles. So this is one model charging station that we have installed. This is the kind of charging station that we are installing in various different cities as well, where it's all unmanned. With information about the application, you can download the application and you can charge seamlessly, right? And various different models of vehicles are being charged here. You can see a Tata Tigor, Mahindra e-Verito, Hyundai Kona. So they have different charging protocols, and that's how they are charging. So in a nutshell, this is what I wanted to present. Whatever experience that I've gained in the past 6-8 years, and what kind of things that the government have taken into consideration while promoting this particular segment, right? So with this, Professor Paul, I would like to end my session, and I'll be happy to take any questions that the audience can have. So
thank you, Mr. Polas Das. There are some few questions answered. There are few questions.
Sure.
Okay. See, the first question, it was that whether the participant can get a copy of your presentation.
Definitely, sir. Definitely, I'll share it with Dr. Raju, and it can be circulated further.
Yeah, then it will be of great help for us.
Sure.
There are some more questions.
Sure, definitely, sir.
See, the last question, I'll go from the last. That what is the name of the app? It's supportive to Apple device to locate the charging stations.
Okay, so I'll give the information of this app. There are a few links that I will like to share. One is the app through which a EV user can be navigated to the nearest charging station, and this is supported on Apple devices as well. I will share the link with in my presentation. Second, there is also an e-marketplace for anyone to come and buy an electric two-wheeler or three-wheeler. That app is called My EV. I'll share the link of that particular app as well. So government has created a marketplace, just like Amazon and Flipkart, where someone can go and buy. So for electric two-wheelers and three-wheelers, which is a subsidized price that the government has finalized, which includes all the subsidies that that particular state has. So the name of the app is called My EV, and that particular app I'll also give. There is one website that has been created by NITI Aayog, which is called e-Amrit, where any information related to electric vehicle, be it a business model, be the concept, the rules and regulations, the policies around it, everything is being gathered, and it is being put into that website. So that website is called e-Amrit. I will share the link of that particular website as well. So
actually, the next question is that whether only the private players are can join or for financing, whether or financing and all these things, whether only the private persons can join or private companies or any individual can join.
Okay, so if it's particularly for electric vehicle charging stations, as I said, the entire concept has been it's a license-free business, right? You don't have to acquire any license in terms of establishing an electric vehicle charging station. So if you have land anywhere, if you think that you will be able to make a profitable business, you can install a charging station, get a connection from the electricity board on a special tariff that will be given to you, and you can start the business. Anyone can start an electric vehicle business, vehicle charging business.
Okay, then the government doesn't have any strict regulation. Anybody can place a charging station.
Yes. So government is actually promoting it, right? So it's not a commercial connection; it's a specific tariff that the government has given. So it's less than the commercial tariff. Yeah.
Okay. Good. And actually, there is a question like the number of vehicles are producing. There are more number of vehicles coming. Charging stations are not coming in that way. So, is there any strategy or?
So as I said, looking at in the past 18 months, I would say, the density of charging station within a city, I would majorly talk about the metropolitan cities, but slowly, the distribution company and the municipality are also looking it as a business, right? So it's a myth that you need a sophisticated charging station for electric vehicle. If you have a two-wheeler, it can be, it can be charged at a 5 ampere plug as well. So for two-wheelers, three-wheelers specifically, there is no need of a bigger charging infrastructure. It's only four-wheelers that it's a concern right now. But as the uptake of this four-wheeler will increase, the charging station, the number of charging stations in and around will also increase. Yeah. By the way, these four-wheelers can also be charged at your home, right?
Yeah, four-wheeler can be charged. Four-wheeler and two-wheeler can be charged at the home.
Two-wheeler, yes.
Actually, you have mentioned 9 cities where the EVs are coming more. So that means if we take our four-wheeler to any other city, then can we get their charging station?
So there are many many startups and many private players which are coming up with, which are converting themselves as a charge point operators. So they are installing charging stations, right? Like Tata Power has taken a lead in most of the cities, and they are installing charging stations. The electric vehicle manufacturers in their service stations, like Tata, if Tata is selling a Tata Nexon, they are ensuring that in all the service station there is a charging station which is being open for public. Similarly with Hyundai, similarly with MG as well. So many companies, many stakeholders are there who are trying to increase the number of charging stations in the city. Yeah.
Okay, good. See, there is a question like in hill area, can one take his electric vehicle, electric four-wheeler, because in the hill area,
I have installed a charging station and my vehicles are flying in Leh Ladakh. Right. So there are 10
Yeah.
electric vehicles which are being charged by solar. Right. So there is no grid. There is a solar panel, there is a battery storage, and there is a charger. Right. It's a completely standalone charging station, and it is feeding electric vehicles. And these vehicles have been used in such terrains as well. So it's a myth that electric vehicle cannot go into high terrains and all. Right. So in fact, these vehicles have more power. There are no engine. Right. And these are all automatic vehicles, so the power and the thrust of these vehicles are more, and it can the gradient is also more than 12 degrees, so it can easily be maneuvered in a hilly area.
Okay, very good. I feel there are some more questions, but which are majority. Once we get the presentation material, most of the questions will be answered. So,
Sure. Yeah.
so any from the panelists, will there be any question? I mean, anybody wants to ask any question, or I'll summarize. Okay, there is no other question from the panelists. So let me summarize. Actually, Mr. Polas Das has given a very interesting lecture, and it is a very eye opener for all of us that there is a huge scope for entrepreneurship in the charging, and we have seen that how the electric vehicle is cost effective. Basically, if we summarize, he has told that electric vehicle, what is the charging cost, what is the vehicle cost, how it is profitable, and very interesting thing is that segment wise, like two-wheeler, three-wheeler, four-wheeler, he has given the scope and what is that very detail has been discussed. What is the subsidy by government? Okay, time to time policy is changing, but the subsidy portion also has been discussed, and the reason for less four-wheeler in Indian market, that also has been discussed, and we have seen that per kilometer charging rate is the most effective way. That is because electric vehicle per kilometer charge the rate is very less. So if we have to reduce the cost of public transport, we have to go for EV system. And he has also shown in his lecture the various charging stations at Delhi area. Very interesting, and it is a unmanned and you can directly pay. There are some similar charging station are there on at Newtown also, nearer to my house. So I need to visit that one. Okay, and various apps also he has discussed. And this lecture, it has given us the total insights of electric vehicle in our state, in West Bengal as well as in India. And we have seen that if we have to reduce the pollution in our city, Calcutta, we have to, that transport has to be by electric vehicle. And if we have to reduce the cost of transportation, if we have to reduce the pollution, so electric vehicle is the only solution. So people should be encouraged to use, that is the two-wheeler and four-wheeler, by using the electric vehicle. Even the initial cost is high then, but still one should go for that. And with that, let me tell it is a very interesting lecture, sir, and our students as well as faculty member, we have gained heavily from this lecture. So this is the conclusion from my side. Now over to Dr. Raju Bosak. If anybody wants to talk, any panelist wants to talk, he can talk. Otherwise, over to Raju Bosak. I propose Dr. Raju Bosak to propose the vote of thanks.
Thank you very much, Professor Ashok Pal. Is it audible?
Yes, it is audible.
Oh, thank you very much. So it is my actually vote of thanks is the last part of the program. So without vote of thanks, the program cannot be completed. I know. So now it's the time for vote of thanks. Thank you, Professor Ashok Pal, for giving me the opportunity for the vote of thanks. So it is my proud privilege to extend my sincere thanks and gratitude to all the distinguished participants in the technical webinar on the theme electric vehicles ecosystem in India, technology and business case, organized by the Electrical Engineering Division, West Bengal State Center, Institute of Engineers, India, on online platform. So at the outset, I convey my sincere thanks to the speaker, Mr. Polas Das, Regional Director, India at Optibus, Thank you very much, sir. It was a wonderful lecture, and all we are very much enriched through your lecture. Thank you very much, sir. And
Thank you.
hopefully, we will get you in the next session, next program, of course, sir. Thank you very much. So, my sincere thanks also goes to Dr. Nirmal Das, Chairman, West Bengal State Center, Dr. H.O. Thakre, President IEI, Engineer Sandeep Kumar Dev, Vice President IEI, and importantly, Dr. P.K. Mukhopadhyay, Chairman of Electrical Engineering Division Subcommittee, West Bengal State Center, IEI, who has done a lot for this engineering division, the Electrical Engineering Division of West Bengal State Center. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Professor Dr. S.K. Kala, Chairman, Electrical Engineering Division Board, IEI, Dr. G. Ranganath, Chairman, Committee for Advance of Technology and Engineering, IEI, Professor Dr. Ashok Pal, Professor Electrical Engineering Department, Technology University, and our member of Electrical Engineering Division as well. So same thing also being showered to all members of the Council and Division Board, board members of ELDB, all the members of the Committee of West Bengal State Center, IEI, and all members of the Electrical Engineering Subdivisional Committee, Director Technical, IEI, and his team for their wholehearted support to make the program grand success. Last but not the least, my sincere thanks also goes to those persons who are behind the screen and giving their silent support to make the program grand success. And most importantly, I would like to thank all the participants from Technic Polytechnic Institute and the principal of Technic Polytechnic Institute, Professor Dr. Obhijit sir, actually. So thank you very much, sir, for your wholehearted support, and all the students from Technic Polytechnic Institute. Practically, we are collaborating with this institute, and we are getting support from every corner. We are getting their wholehearted support. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you once again. Thanks to all.
Thank you.
Thank
sir.
you all.
Thank you. It's a
Thank you,
privilege.
Dr. Raju. Thank you, Dr. Raju, for coordinating the entire activity.
Thank you.
And Dr. Raju.
Yes, sir. We are concluding the session right
Yeah,
now.
conversation. Okay. See, some participant now there is some participant. Okay. Okay. We'll talk later on.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. So I'm leaving. I'm in the
Okay, sir. Thank you.